Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. Switch gears. Want to go ahead and get to some college football. Now, look, I know Sunday was all about the NFL. We get that. Listen, 4 teams plan to go to the Super Bowl: KC, Baltimore, San Francisco, Detroit, etc. But at the same time, there was a very interesting piece of college football news that broke during the Kansas City-Baltimore game that I want to get to. Bluntly, by the time you listen to this, it may be even a little bit outdated. Because to be honest, I'm always transparent on this channel. I'm actually recording this video during halftime of the Kansas City-Baltimore game. So I'm talking to you from the past. We'll see what happens. But I bring it up because during the game, we got word that BJ Green, maybe the top defensive player remaining in college football's transfer portal. Well, we found out that while it isn't official yet, he is on the verge of committing to Colorado. Multiple crystal balls from multiple outlets place him with the Colorado Buffaloes. And so we're going to talk about it. It isn't official. If it has happened by the time you guys and girls listen, I apologize. But how about Coach Prime? Listen, by the way, people are going to say, well, it's not official yet. It hasn't happened. You shouldn't be talking about it. Guess what? When multiple outlets put in crystal balls, they know the answer. They know it's coming. So let's talk about it. As I believe on Sunday, maybe Monday, whenever it becomes official, Coach Prime may have just picked up his most impressive player out of the portal this offseason. And I am here to tell you, if you want to keep doubting this man, go ahead. But I truly believe, based on everything he's done this offseason, he is going to make you look foolish this coming year ahead. So the news, this is what you need to know. BJ Green was an all Pac-12 defensive lineman at Arizona State last year. 3-year player, 3-year really starter and contributor. And then after the season, does decide to enter the transfer portal and actually commits to Washington. Obviously, Washington, as you may have heard, has had a coaching change over the last couple of weeks. Kalen DeBoer leaves Washington to replace Alabama. And because of it, BJ Green reopens his recruitment. The recruitment essentially comes down to Colorado and Ole Miss. Early on, there's some Ole Miss buzz because Ole Miss does a very good job in the portal as well. But as I said, multiple outlets on Sunday have crystal balled BJ Green to Colorado. When this becomes official, what Colorado is getting is one of the best defensive players that entered the portal all offseason, okay? This kid was all Pac-12, finished the season with 11 and a half TFLs, which led the team at Arizona State, 6 sacks as well. And over the course of his career, how about this? 21 TFLs, 13 and a half tackles for loss. So this guy is a difference maker. He is a multi-year contributor. And what I am here to say, listen, we all watched Colorado last year, but if you can't acknowledge, if you can't understand the improvements across the board, specifically on defense with this roster this offseason, then I don't know what to tell you. Because to me, BJ Green is a microcosm for what Coach Prime did this offseason. Last year, it was simply about turning over the roster, adding bodies. This year, it is about adding difference makers at positions of need. You don't need to bring in 78 new guys or 72 new guys or whatever it was. But instead, it is about the quality, not the quantity. Last year was about quantity. This year's about quality. And when you look across the board at the guys that have been brought in, I don't think there's any doubt about the improvement across the board. So BJ Green, when it becomes official, an all Pac-12 defensive lineman, a guy that could have gone anywhere. If you could go to Washington, if you can go to Ole Miss, you can play anywhere. And so that's criticism. Oh, who cares? They're getting a bunch of guys nobody wants. No. Everybody wanted BJ Green. On top of that, look at some of the other guys that Coach Prime has gotten this offseason. Sam Okunlola. Remember him? Transfer from Pitt. This guy had offers from everywhere. He was one of the best defensive players in the ACC. Don't remember all the details, but I know he had offers from Ole Miss, from Miami, from Florida State, places like that. He chooses Colorado. He's going to be one of the best defensive players in the Big 12 next year if everything goes to plan. Destin Wade, the quarterback, the linebacker, Keaton Wade, I believe is the Keaton Wade is the linebacker from Kentucky. We've talked about him at length, okay? He is a kid that I am here to tell you Kentucky did not want to lose. He was awesome this past year at Kentucky, played in all 12 games, 35 tackles, 3 TFLs, and a sack. You're adding him, a guy that would have been a major contributor in the SEC. You're adding also Quincy Wiggins, a former 5-star that played at LSU this past season. So you go on and on and on down the list. Across the board, areas of need, defensive line, linebacker. Colorado is adding guys that you want. And now you add it to a loaded defense and a loaded secondary, a defense that already includes a loaded secondary that includes Travis Hunter, potential top 10 pick next year. Cormani McLean, who I think is going to develop into that kind of player down the road. Shiloh Sanders, some of the other guys, Marion Cooper, on and on and on. There is so much talent on that defensive secondary, and now they're only going to get help as the pass rush and the defensive front gets better. On top of that, and we have talked about it a lot, the offense should be much improved as well. And the offense was obviously, it had its peaks, its valleys, its ebbs and flows, but that offensive line should be a difference maker this coming season. We all watched the games last year. We know Shedeur Sanders struggled with the pass rush. Well, this year, that O-line, they got some dudes on there now. Obviously, everybody knows about Jordan Seaton, the 5-star. He's on campus. Saw him in one of the well-off media videos a few days ago, Deion Sanders Jr.'s YouTube channel. But on top of that, you got Khalil Benson from Indiana, 4-year starter. You got Tyler Johnson, who started his career at Texas, played the last few years at Houston. That O-line should be improved. The defense will be improved. And the skill position talent we've talked about, it's as good as anybody, certainly in the Big 12, for Colorado going into next year when Colorado begins their journey in that league. Not going to go through everybody, but at running back, Dylan Edwards showed flashes. Alton McCaskill was an all-AAC freshman team guy 2 years ago, got hurt, tried to come back, came back too soon this year. You go on and on down the list. Look at the wide receiver room. Jimmy Horn, Travis Hunter, Amarion Miller, who had a breakout game against USC this year. Draylon Miller, the freshman. Will Shepard, transfer from Vanderbilt, was really, really good for a bad SEC team last year. So I could go on and on, but I am here to tell you, you look at this team, there's basically improvement across the board at every major position. Now, look, what I'm not going to do, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like, oh my God, they're Georgia, or oh my God, they're Oregon. But what I will say, if you can't see the improvement, I don't know what to tell you. On top of that, and I keep saying it, they're going to a new league where I think, frankly, the league is not going to be as good as the one they just left in the Pac-12. So now all of a sudden you're playing in a league where, there's no Texas and Oklahoma, but obviously some of the teams you played in the Pac-12, USC, Oregon, aren't involved as well. Utah is going to be good, but Colorado played Utah tough this year. Arizona is going to be good, but they have a new head coach. And guess what? Arizona beat Colorado on a walk-off field goal. So you start looking around that league, there's not going to be teams with more talent, especially at the skill positions, than Colorado, and the O-line and D-line should be much improved. Doesn't mean other schools aren't good. Doesn't mean that Kansas State, Kansas, Utah, whomever won't beat Colorado if they don't show up. But what I think you're seeing is a team that went from 1 win to 4 this past season. I think they're going to make another big leap, and people are going to be surprised, and people are going to get mad, and I'm going to talk about this all offseason. And then all of a sudden, we're going to get to September, get to October. The wins are going to start to pile up. And people are going to, all of a sudden, the ones that are criticizing will go quiet. But BJ Green, it looks like it's all but official. If it has happened by the time you listen, congrats, because Colorado got its biggest difference maker in the portal this offseason, late in the process. Shout out Nick Saban retiring. Deion, Coach Prime's Aflac partner, retires. Kalen DeBoer leaves. One of his star players ends up at Colorado. If you enjoyed this video, do me a quick favor. Make sure to subscribe to the Aaron Torres Pod YouTube channel. New videos, new clips going up all the time. Obviously, still talking college football, little NFL. Plus, remember, new episodes, Aaron Torres Pod, every single week, wherever you get podcasts, Apple, Spotify, etc.